everybody, Gage here from Sharp. Excited to have you with me again for another video. Today we're going to talk about cutting boards, and more specifically how to maintain your wooden cutting board. Now, as you're probably aware, wooden cutting boards are much better for your knives than any other material such as plastic. More specifically, end grain cutting boards are the best boards you can get for your knives in terms of edge retention. End grain cutting boards are made such that all of the grains of the wood stand straight up like so, and our knife fits just nicely in between all those grains, keeping our edges nice and sharp for longer. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about is certain ingredients that you're using on your board and what you should do to care for your board after you cut said ingredients. So we'll start off with fruits and vegetables. Most fruits and vegetables, ones with high water content in them, like cucumbers, tomatoes, that sort of thing, don't really require much in terms of maintenance after you cut on your board with them. I simply wipe my board down with a damp rag after I'm finished cutting those ingredients, and that's pretty much all I do. If all I'm cutting on my board is fruits and vegetables for, say, a week at a time, I will wash my board with hot soapy water once a week or so, just to kind of bring it back to life a little bit and give it a nice little TLC once in a while. If you're cutting ingredients like shallots and garlic and ones that are very aromatic, have a lot of like scent and flavor to them, you will find that those scents and flavors do penetrate into the board a little bit. So after cutting ingredients like garlic or shallots or lemongrass or something like that, I do find if you don't want those flavors to bleed into other ingredients that you're cutting on your board, it's important to wash your board with hot soapy water. Next, we'll talk about cutting proteins on your board, raw or cooked. Now, proteins, raw or cooked, are going to be the most dangerous in terms of cross-contamination, so it's very important that we wash our board properly after cutting such ingredients. It is totally fine to cut raw proteins on your board, but like we're talking about right now, they must be cleaned properly after before cutting something else on them. So what I personally do with my cutting board, because it's too large to fit in the sink, is I'll fill up my sink with about like an inch or two of hot soapy water. I'll tip my board into the sink as best I can, and using a scouring pad, a green scrubby pad, I'll splash some of that hot soapy water up on the board, scrub my board really nice, very thoroughly, making sure all of that chicken or raw fish gunk comes off my board. After which time I will rinse with water and make sure that my board is stored in a place where airflow or where there's even airflow over the entirety of the board so that it dries properly. It's important not to leave our board submerged in water, so if you can get your whole board into the sink, important not to dunk the whole thing in there. These boards will warp and crack if they are left in water for too long, and of course we want our boards to last a very long time, so I would recommend not doing that. So some things to think about additionally when using your board is make sure that you're not being too aggressive with it. If you're using the tip or the heel of your knife or the cleaver of your knife, you may put large gashes into your board, which is no good. It's going to look bad and it's going to harbor bacteria as well. So we want to make sure we stay away from creating any gouges in our board. I like to keep a quote-unquote beater board around for any aggressive tasks that I'm working with. That way I don't have to worry too much about that board getting damaged or anything, because I'm only using it for those certain tasks, keeping my nice board nice for all the other things that I'm going to do. I'd also like to make some points about how to properly store your board. Now, a lot of people will choose to store their board on their countertop at all times. This is what I do personally as well, and I think it's a great way to store your board. These, again, large wood cutting boards have these really nice rubber feet on the bottom, so they're going to keep them elevated and up off the surface you're working with, making sure there's no bacteria or weirdness happening underneath the board. You want to make sure, though, that it's not stored in direct sunlight, as this can dry out your board a little bit quicker. You also want to make sure that it's not stored in a super humid place either, as this could cause warping and cracking as well. We also want to make sure that our board is stored flat, in my opinion. Leaving it leaned up against a wall or something like that may cause it over time to sort of develop a bit of a curve in the board due to the way that you have it leaned up against the wall. Last thing I want to talk about before I let you guys go is more specifically to these Larchwood cutting boards. Larchwood Enterprises does a great job of educating their customers and us retailers on how to properly maintain their boards. What they recommend you do when you first buy your cutting board is treat it with their cutting board conditioner once a week for the first month, until your board has had time to acclimatize to its new kitchen surroundings. After that, they recommend that you treat your board on a monthly basis with the cutting board conditioner to ensure that it stays properly hydrated over the lifetime of the board. They also recommend you never wash your board with vinegar or bleach or anything else that may cause the board to discolor. This is obviously not ideal. We want our boards to look nice. They simply recommend using hot soapy water to wash your board and using the cutting board conditioner to keep it hydrated. So after we've properly cleaned and dried our board, it's important to treat the cutting board to make sure that it stays moisturized and, again, doesn't warp or crack. I usually leave my board out overnight after I've washed it with hot soapy water. The next morning, once it's completely dried, I'll use a product that we carry here at the shop made by Larchwood Enterprises, from whom we also get these cutting boards. It's a mixture of mineral oil and beeswax, and it not only helps with keeping the board hydrated, but I also find that it really helps neutralize odors from, for instance, those ingredients we talked about earlier, like shallots and garlic. All you're going to do is take a little quarter-size dab, put it in all four corners of the board. Using a dry, clean J-cloth or paper towel, you're just going to massage that mineral oil beeswax mixture into the board, making sure you get every little inch of your board. You want to do the sides, you want to flip the board over, do the same thing, put 4 little dabs on each of the corners and scrub it into the bottom of the board as well. Again, this will help keep the board nicely hydrated and help eliminate any odors. If you do all of these things, your board should last a lifetime. Again, these end-grade cutting boards are great. They've got lots of height to them, so as you use them over the years, you may find that you develop a little rut in your board. This is nothing to worry about. You can simply sand your board down, treat it again with mineral oil and beeswax, and you're good to go with no rut left in your board. Larchwood Enterprises likes to say that these are like a hand-me-down board. You should be able to pass these down to your grandkids or your kids one day, and they should be able to use it for years and years as well, provided you are properly maintaining it. So I hope that you use all these tips and tricks to maintain your board. If there's any others that you can think about that we didn't touch on in the video, make sure to leave a comment down below. Or if you have any questions about maintaining your board, leave a question down below as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more knife-related content. And until the next video, stay sharp!